All right. You got better internet than I got. So you can click on the link on the PowerPoint. Okay. So, Mr. Namor, why are you showing us songs and making us listen to these really crappy songs? I apologize for that. But again, you have to look at the imperialistic, aggressive, jingoistic nature that they're headed towards, and this would be SFI. So, in the final balance of things, U.S. forces only totaled 28,000 in mass. Frankly, they were just basically on the frontier. They would be increased to 68,000. Volunteers were estimated at 80 to 130,000. Spain had 200,000 troops in Cuba alone, so our highest amount wouldn't even match what Spain had in Cuba alone. On paper, the Spanish fleet was superior. But in fact, it was in wretched condition, just nobody really knew how bad. The U.S. fleet was largely of recent construction, aka steel. The war. Let's look at the actual events of the war. Dewey in the Philippines, Roosevelt cables him. Jingoistic nature, Manila Bay in the Philippines sinks the entire Spanish fleet. Teddy becomes a national hero. Dewey was unable to follow up. Dewey becomes a national hero. Let's take a look. Dewey stationed in Hong Kong, and we went over all this already earlier. Dewey becomes a national hero. Song. Oh, Dewey was the morning upon the 1st of May, and Dewey was the admiral down in Manila Bay. And Dewey were those Spanish eyes, them orbs of black and blue. And do we feel discouraged? I do not think we do. Dewey was unable to follow up because of the lack of troops. You can win on the water, but you can't win with no army. So spends the summer just sitting in the bay twiddling his thumbs until attack can be launched in August. Tension will develop between German ships and the U.S., but the British intervened on the U.S. behalf and chill things out. Now, how could the British do that? British Navy rules. So here's Germans, Johnny-come-lately, getting spanked a little bit by the British. Thus, you're going to see a huge production of what's called dreadnoughts. These massive battleships by the Germans, rivaling the British and becoming a major cause for World War I. Hawaii is annexed in 98. That's taken care of. So war in Cuba. Let's take a look at it. First off, organization was extremely poor. Moving the men down to Tampa Bay, 17,000 troops show up. So many troops literally had to fight their way on board and fight to hold their position. To get on the trains, matter of fact, Teddy, to get the Rough Riders on, had to abandon his horses so that he could secure a train car to make sure that he got in the war. He really wanted in that battle. They were given woolen uniforms. I don't know if you've ever worn wool, but wool and Florida do not go together. Long johns. They gave them long johns. You know, this is the uniform you gave Army guys to fight the Indians out on the frontier. That's the only place the Army was used. Remember, we had the Atlantic and the Pacific. Now let's look at Teddy's Rough Riders. Rough Riders were one of the most colorful groups in American history. Roosevelt resigned as Undersecretary of the Navy. Here you can see a picture of him. Now, Teddy knew not only was he going to be in battle, but he was going to get credit for it after he was. So he knew to have the press available once he did get his victory. Roosevelt resigned as Undersecretary of the Navy so he could join the fight, composed of cowboys, polo players, and convicts. And the actual leader was Leonard Wood. He will be the commander, and Teddy serves under him. They become known as Wood's Weary Walkers because they had to leave those horses behind to get on the train car. So, number one. Here's the new question. 2 head puzzles for Teddy and the Rough Riders. You're going to score the drunk history one. It's kind of funny. And it is informative. Put a 4 out of 4, I'm hoping. And here out of 5 for the actual video I want you to see on the Rough Riders. War in Cuba. Here is the Spanish rival to Dewey. He's dispatched from Spain to provide naval assistance. He has 4 cruisers. One of them has no guns. 6 torpedo boats. 3 sunk on the way. Nevertheless, the east coast of the United States goes into a panic. Vacationers abandon the beaches. Deposits are withdrawn from the banks. Civil War vessels reactivated for coastal defense. Takes the U.S. 5 days to land troops with no resistance. So the war in Cuba. Let's take a look. First, battles of San Juan Hill and El Carne are the 2 major battles. Same day they take place, actually on the same day. General Shafter is the one going to be in charge. Now, he's a leftover from the Civil War. And he's gained a little weight since then. He now weighs 300 pounds. And needs to be carried around the battlefield on a door. They actually have a door, like a stretcher, and that's what they carry him around on. Poor guys who have to carry him. Man, that's 75 pounds each. Man. One guy on each corner of the door. The Spanish were able to concentrate only about 13,000 of their 200,000 troops around Santiago. And can only get 2,000 in battle. This indicates that, man, their leaders were schmucks. Roosevelt was so nearsighted, he brought along 12 extra pairs of glasses. Got to shoot a Spaniard and reveled at how he, quote, curled up like a jackrabbit. Mr. Dooley, and if you remember Mr. Dooley, that's Puck. Mr. Dooley, character for Puck, says Roosevelt's accounts of his own importance are so bloated that they should be entitled Alone in Cuba. I love that quote. That's good. These 2 battles constitute the only major battles of the Spanish-American War in Cuba. They are both solid U.S. victories. So General Shafter there is kill the horse. Spanish able only 13,000. Roosevelt's so nearsighted, he had to bring along 12 extra pairs of glasses. Mr. Dooley. So here's number 15. Number 15 says, explain the significance of the May 7 Mr. Dooley piece on his cousin George. Your info is found in the link on the previous slide. So you go on the previous slide, click that link right there, and you'll find Mr. Dooley information. Know him, especially that we're concentrating on DBQ primary resources. This cartoonist is famous. These 2 battles constitute the only 2 battles, and there we go. War in Cuba. Cervera kept his fleet bottled up in Santiago until he was ordered to engage. He knew he was going to get whooped, so he tried to stay where he had the most shelter from land guns. When he's ordered to engage, it gets ugly. It's a blowout. All the Spanish ships are sunk. 1 American is killed, and that's due to heat stroke. When they start cheering at the overwhelming victory, they're told by the admiral, don't cheer, boys. The poor devils are dying. I mean, you don't sit there and go, in your face, in your face, in your face, when you beat somebody 100-0 in a basketball game. You quietly walk off the court, say, good game, good game. You go in the locker room, and then you make jokes. General Miles descends on Puerto Rico and easily captures it. So easily that Mr. Dooley suggests it be titled General Miles' Grand Picnic and Moonlight Excursion. I wonder where they're going to make peace. Peace is worked out. Note the day before Dewey captures Manila. U.S. troops are in dire straits in Cuba. Not from war wounds, that's nothing. It's disease, yellow fever, spread by the mosquito. They're finally removed to Long Island. Many die as a result of the embalmed beef scandal. Okay, we get to reform movements, we get to scandals. You want to put this along with them. So far scandals, we've gotten the whiskey ring, Credit Mobilier, and now embalmed beef also, the Indian scandal. We got a few of them. We're going to see in the 1920s the Teapot Dome scandal, and, well, we won't have to know Watergate. Embalmed beef scandal, please look it up, hit the link, find out all about it. This will lead to, along with the jungle, meatpacking industry regulation. If you're not sure what embalmed means, that means they use the same chemicals they use on dead people to keep the meat fresher longer. All right, where would you rank the embalmed beef scandal compared to these that you've already had? So know your scandals. You want to know these strings of thought. For example, what would be the first item for your string of thought for unions? You know, the Lowell girls, Lowell factories, the Waltham system, and then Commonwealth v. Hunt. And then, of course, you get to the Haymarket Square riot with the Knights of Labor and the AFL, et cetera, et cetera. But that be one union string of thought. Here is a scandal string of thought. If you want to go off the reservation, throw in a little Watergate there when you have to contextualize. Total deaths, 460 killed in battle, 5,200 died from disease, some of them in Long Island. And of course, where's the treaty going to be made? Ah, but Paris.